Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the UFL DFS video for week number 8. So if you're joining me for the very first time, this is how today's video was structured. We will be walking through my UFL DFS sheet for week number 8, talking about each player, kind of whether or not I would consider them a GPP play, a cash game play, kind of a pay down or a dart throw option just in general. A little bit about whether or not I'd be overweight or underweight to the field. And just some other general notes for the week, guys that are inactive, guys that just signed this week, guys that got cut this week. So hopefully you guys all find this video very informative. And then with that being said, if you are interested in this sheet, it will be updated as kind of the night moves along before we get to games, as we get the depth charts and inactives for the Sunday games probably later tonight. So definitely be sure to check that out on the Patreon at patreon.com/CoachCraigSports. But without further ado, we'll get started with the Birmingham Stallions. They are a team that has already clinched a playoff spot, so you could see them get a little bit creative at this point in time. But Adrian Martinez, a quarterback, GPP option, $11,000. Probably going to be in line with the field on him once again this week, especially, if A.J. McCarron's unable to go. And then we have Ricky Pearson Jr. is kind of their main running back this week. Larry Roundtree will be active. C.J. Marable's inactive for week number 8. So Ricky Pearson Jr., solid GPP option, probably going to be in line with the field on him. I think there's some pretty decent running back plays overall this week, though. And then in terms of the wide receivers, I'm mainly still interested in the same three guys in Deion Kane, Marlon Williams, and Kevin Austin. If you want to make a stand on any of them, maybe it's Marlon Williams or Kevin Austin, although Marlon Williams is getting up there in price at this point in time. We do see Amari Rodgers return and Isaiah Zuber move back to inactive. In terms of the tight ends, I'm not really getting a Jay Sternberger this week. If you want to do it, you definitely can, but I'm just not getting there myself personally. And I do consider their defense a cash game option versus Houston Roughnecks this week. If they're able to stop the run, should be a good start for them once again. Then we move down to the Houston Roughnecks team. Reed Sinnett is back as the starter. We might see a little bit of Nolan Henderson behind him as kind of a rushing threat. And Jerry Gorentano is moving to inactive. So 1 week stint for him as kind of the starter after coming back from injury. Not too surprised there, to be honest. If you want to go with one of the running backs, you can definitely do it. Mark Thompson or TJ Pledger. Not really getting there too much myself personally, but I do see the upside of both of them. And then for the wide receiver room, we got Justin Hall and Chike Kism mainly once again as the top two guys. So probably going to be in line with the field on both of them, maybe slightly overweight. And then in terms of all the other wide receivers, in terms of the tight end, really not getting there once again this week. Houston Roughnecks defense, they're only $3,000, but I really don't trust them against this Birmingham Stallions team. Moving down to the Memphis Showboats. Their interesting news here at quarterback is Troy Williams is going to be the third quarterback, so he'll be inactive this week, just kind of emergency quarterback in case, both the first two guys would get hurt. So Case Cookis is back listed as the starter. I kind of have him as a GPP option with a question mark there because are they going to let Josh Love play a little bit in this game? It definitely could be possible, especially depending on how this game goes overall, although we haven't seen Josh Love at all this season. And then in terms of running backs, Darius Victor has the lion's share of the backfield once again, $7,100. GPP option there, probably in line with the field, maybe slightly overweight once again. You just have to think one of these weeks is going to ultimately pay off for him. But, they're not playing for anything at this point in time, so they might give some more opportunities to Titus Swen. So I wouldn't be surprised by that. If you really want to play a dart throw there, you could. In terms of the wide receivers, the same three guys. Once again, Vinny Papali, David Davis, and Jonathan Adams. All three viable GPP options, probably in line with the field on all three of them once again this week. And then at tight end, there's Sage Surratt, $5,600. Seems like a decent leverage play. Hasn't done too much as of late, but if the targets are there once again this week, could be a favorable matchup for him. And I think playing with Case Cookis probably favors him just a little bit more in general. In terms of that Showboats defense, they're going against the Panthers this week. There is a little bit of upside there, but the Showboats defense has been terrible as of late, so I'm not really chasing it myself. If you want to go after them as a dart throw, you could do that. Then we move down to the Michigan Panthers. So it is listed on the depth chart that Brian Lewerke is going to start once again. I had Bryce Perkins listed as GPP if he ends up starting. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but should be to some type of split quarterback room once again this week. Perkins would be the guy with the upside due to his rushing ability, but it's kind of a messy situation at this point in time. In terms of the running backs, Wes Hills, Matthew Colburn, you could play either one if you really wanted to. Me, myself, personally, I'm getting more Matthew Colburn as a solid GPP option. Maybe a little bit overweight to the field on him once again this week. Wide receiver is kind of the major talking point for this team. So they cut John Hightower and they cut Gavin Holmes this week. And then Siaosi Mariner is inactive this week. He's dealing with a concussion. So going to be a pretty interesting one here. They did sign Terry right back. Devin Ross is coming off IR. So we'll see how those two guys factor in. Ross is technically listed as a starter, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nakua is still playing ahead of him. So GPP option is Samson Naku if you really want to get there. Marcus Sims is kind of the one guy that we can trust at this point in time. And then Trey Quingen is a little bit of a role, but hasn't done too much this season overall. And then if you want to go to Cole Catini at tight end, $3,300, been getting some targets, been getting some playing time as of late. You could definitely do that. And then for the Michigan Panthers defense, I consider them a very viable GPP option, probably slightly overweight to the field on them once again this week. Going against the Memphis Showboats, they do get Levi Bell back. He signed with the team recently, so that is an extra pass rusher. And then the one major loss for the defense this week, Kai Naku is inactive for this week. I believe he's dealing with an injury. So that is a very, very important safety for their defensive backs. We'll see if his replacement can, at least have a reasonable game. Then we move down to the Arlington Renegades. If you really want to play Luis Perez, you could. Obviously, he's coming off a really great week, but in this matchup, I don't really prefer him too much. And then there's Davion Smith coming off a really strong week himself, GPP option. Probably in line with the field on him once again this week. Obviously, all three running backs will be active, but he took the most of the snaps last week. In terms of receiving options, this is the same three guys. Once again, Javonte Payton, Tyler Vaughns, and Sal Cannell. All three GPP options, probably in line with the field on all three of them. You could make a little bit of a stand on any one of them if you really wanted to. And then other than that, really not too interested in the receiving options this week overall. The Arlington Renegades defense, $3,600. Looks like an interesting paydown option this week against the San Antonio Brahmas, who have not played as good offensively since the loss of Chase Garbers. So definitely do like them once again. Dormady has been really struggling the last couple of weeks, and he has been named the starter once again this week, at least in terms of initial reports. Moving down to the DC Defenders, they had an interesting quarterback situation last week where Jordan Ta'amu got knocked out of the game, DeAndre Francois got knocked out of the game, so we saw the emergency third quarterback in Jalen McClendon. Probably one of the better third quarterback options at that point in time, but makes it pretty interesting this week. So Francois is on IR now at this point in time. Jordan Ta'amu is dealing with a concussion. He's been able to practice in a limited capacity the past 2 days. We'll see what the Friday report looks like if he's available or not. But if he's not, Jalen McClendon will be the starter at $6,000. Does have some serious rushing upside. So I have GPP option if he starts. He might even be a cash game option if he starts, although the weapons around him are not great. And then they did bring in another quarterback, Mike DeLeo, who is a undrafted free agent who spent some time in rookie minicamp with the Titans. So we'll see what type of role he plays on this team. Not expecting too much from him overall. Not really interested in this running back room once again. None of these guys truly stand out from that perspective. Moving down to wide receivers, Kelvin Hartman was placed on IR this week, so he'll be done for the season. We'll see who ultimately ends up stepping up in his place. Ty Scott's the obvious option on the outside, GPP option there. Do we see a little bit more from like a Kiki QT? Do we see a little bit more from a Chris Rowland in the slot? And then the other guy on the outside, whether it's Brandon Smith or Vincent Smith, could be viable. I do have Vincent Smith listed as a paydown option, potentially, just because somebody has to play those snaps. But mainly would be interested in Ty Scott. And then if you wanted to chase one of the tight end options, Alex Ellis or Kane Smith, you could definitely do that as kind of paydown options, especially with no Kelvin Hartman there. The targets do have to go somewhere. And then for the Defenders defense, $3,800. So going against Battlehawks looks like a bad matchup on paper, but maybe if A.J. McCarron doesn't play, maybe it's not as bad. You could do a little bit of a leverage play there. And then we're going to move down to the San Antonio Brahmas. It is noted, at least internally, that Dormady will be starting once again this week, even though Kevin Hogan came in towards the end of the game and did really save the game for them overall. We'll see what that looks like as the depth charts do come out, though. And then we got John Lovett at running back, $9,400. Still kind of consider him a cash game option unless, like Anthony McFarland's back. In terms of the wide receivers, mainly again to Justin Smith and Deontay Kirkland once again as GPP options. Probably be in line with the field on them once again, although it's kind of been underwhelming in recent weeks. If you really want to chase Marquez Stevenson or Cody Lattimore, you could definitely do that as well. I'm just not getting there myself personally this week. And then the Brahmas defense, I think it's probably the best part of their team right now, honestly. $4,400 GPP option, probably in line with the field. Going against the Renegades this week, there is some upside to be had there. Although the Renegades offense is starting to click a little bit more as of late. Then we move down to St. Louis Battlehawks. The biggest question mark here is whether or not A.J. McCarron plays. He's dealing with an ankle injury, did not practice on Thursday, so we'll see if he plays or not. And then if he doesn't, we'll see who ultimately ends up starting at that quarterback position, whether it's Manny Wilkins or Brandon Silvers. If it's Manny Wilkins, he does offer a little bit of rushing upside. If Brandon Silvers, more leaning on that passing game, but he's been a reliable spring football quarterback at times. And then lastly, they did sign Drew Plitt this week as just kind of another guy to have in the room, in case they needed that third guy in general. And then as we move down to the running backs, Jacob Saylor's $9,500 GPP option probably be in line with the field on him once again this week. Their wide receiver room got kind of interesting last week because Marcel Aitman didn't play at all. So I'm not sure what to make of the top 4 guys here, top 5 guys. Hakeem Butler is the safest one at $10,700, but you're definitely paying up for him if you do it. So GPP option in him probably be in line with the field once again this week. I'm not too interested in Darius Shepard. Marcel Aitman's a big question mark at this point in time. If you want to go after Ja'Cory Pearson, you could do it, but even that, he's kind of not getting as many snaps as we would like. Stephen Mitchell did play a pretty big impact last week, so kind of pay down option at $4,500 if you want to get there. He's probably a guy that I'm either in line with the field or slightly underweight to the field on, though. And then in terms of the Battlehawks defense, GPP option going against the defenders, potentially Jalen McClendon as the third quarterback in there, although, he is a pretty viable third quarterback. He's been a backup, at least half the week so far this season as well. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on my UFL DFS sheet for week number 8. As always, if you have any questions related to UFL DFS for week number 8, feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Once again, this sheet is up on my Patreon. It will be updated as we move along through the night in terms of the inactives, the depth charts for the Sunday games as well. So could make an impact on this slate overall. So if you're interested in joining the Patreon, very small monthly donation over there to get some access to the sheet. Obviously, you'll get Week 8, Week 9, Week 10. Probably going to do some playoff coverage as well. You get some MLB DFS notes. And then probably going to be doing the CFL DFS once again this year if that's something you're into as well. But with that being said, if you're brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos Monday through Friday. And then I do have my UFL DFS video coming out once a week, typically on Fridays. Sometimes it might come out on Thursday if I do get the chance to do that as well. Although, with the depth charts coming out late Thursday for the Saturday games and the depth charts coming out late Friday for the Sunday games, sometimes you like to have a little bit more of that news just in general. And then last but not least, if you're interested in prop betting, if you're interested in sports betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. If you're a brand new user to any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Parlay Play and Prize Picks, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that process as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day, a good weekend overall, and some pretty good luck in UFL DFS for week number 8.